First of all, it's an honor to have you on here. I've been a fan of your artwork for a while, but I heard of Shag with a twist when scrolling through social media and I saw this pop up. What is it like? I guess first of all, how does it feel to have your art come to life like this?
Well, it, it's a hard feeling to describe because you've seen my art and it's really two dimensional and flat. So to see it appearing in three dimensions with a lot of movement is it's really enjoyable for me because it's not a part of my art, and that's something that Cindy brings to it as a director and choreographer.
Cindy, what inspired you to create this and bring it to life? Because uh, Shaq's art is very iconic, and uh, giving it life must give it a whole different meaning.
Oh my goodness. So the first time I saw his art, I felt like I came upon it late. I was at a Hollywood memorabilia show and I saw a cocktail napkin with his art and I fell in love with it immediately. And there was something about it that spoke to me. I almost saw myself in that napkin. And I asked the woman who was selling the napkins about Shag. And she told me that he was actually living locally. So I thought that I had to meet him as soon as possible. I left the memorabilia show and I sat in the car and waited for my friends and just schemed on how I could finally meet the artist because it inspired me to bring it to life the minute I laid eyes on it without a plan, but just I needed permission first.
Definitely, Shag. Your artistic talent spans a bunch of different art mediums, from music to animation to fine art. What is it like to see, well, to help create this stage production and have it be so, accepted and so beloved?
It's, I mean, I'm really honored by the whole thing. I do art because I love it, and the fact that it can go out there in all these different forms and that other people really like it, that's just like gravy on the whole thing that I get to make a living as an artist. Um, I can't imagine doing anything else in my life but art. So I think I found the right thing, and it seems to have clicked with people.
Cindy, seeing his passion and having this RP, like you said, it's very two-dimensional. How do you begin to create a stage production, especially with music that is so cohesive with his artwork? It is very authentic, and so it resonates with his art.
Yes, because that entire genre resonated with me. I was born in the 60s and I grew up in the South. And it brought back all of the good memories about my childhood. And that's when the story came to me that it would take place at a Tupperware party. All of these crazy cast of characters would come to the party, and that a murder would take place. And then it would be funny, and it would be fun, and it would be unlike anything I've ever seen on stage, simply because of the entire aesthetic, which are, all of the designs were done by Shag for the costumes and the sets and the props. And we worked together really closely from the moment that he said that we could do it together. So,
Hey, did you see that Tupperware is going out of business?
Yes.
That's going to be like the end of an era.
yeah.
I guess the whole model of like arranging parties to try and sell things to your friends is not a successful business model anymore.
I guess.
Definitely.
Well, that's why in the story is told through song and dance, but they're also narrators who play show hosts, and it's based off of. Love listening to murder podcasts, so it has a podcast feel also. but they actually they tell the audience what Tupperware is, because I think a lot of young people don't even know.
Definitely. What is it like to work with each other? You know, both of you seem so passionate in the art form that you guys uh, are in, and yet you know, you guys are a very cohesive team. What is it like working with each other, and you know, how has the play been evolving as you know audiences are watching it and reacting to it?
Well, the thing I like about Cindy is I just told her, okay, make this thing, go with it. Um, I don't know, I don't know how to write a play. I don't know how to do choreography, but she does. So I trusted her to do it. And that's kind of why she's been such a great partner in this thing. Um, and then, to get it to a point where it's actually this big production with a big cast and costumes and props and everything, it completely went beyond what I expected for the show. So it's a lot bigger production than I initially thought when I first met with Cindy all those years ago.
It's larger than I thought it would be initially, too. I thought of it as just one piece of choreography with a backdrop and costumes, but it just seemed like such a wonderful opportunity to turn it into a musical, unlike any other. And working with Shag was the most enjoyable experience I've ever had artistically. And it continues to grow, to evolve. And so it was almost 20 years ago it opened the first time. And now we're bringing it back and changing it a little bit. But there were so many elements that were just done just right the first time. And I think the audience will really be able to relate to it now, because a lot of things have come out since the show came out. Like Mad Men wasn't out yet, and social media hadn't come into popularity, and just the mid-century modern is so popular. And young people see it as this ideal lifestyle, and for people our age and older, it's nostalgia.
Definitely. And why was the James R. Armstrong Theatre in Torrance a place you wanted to bring this production to?
I have a ballet company in San Pedro, and we perform in this wonderful theater that's about 90 years old, that is now closed for 5 years. And we were approached, our ballet company was approached to be on the season of the Armstrong Theatre. And after that happened, I thought it would be a perfect place for Shag with a Twist, which is not my ballet company, but it's all professional performers that we have cast from all over Los Angeles, who are dancers that are from actually all over the country. So they really wanted us, and actually the director of the theater is a huge Shag fan, so that helped.
Definitely. Shag, your artwork is inspired by California culture, mostly Palm Springs, but you could see a lot of the SoCal aesthetics to it. Uh, what is it like bringing it back to SoCal and you know having a new generation be exposed to your art?
Well, yeah, like you said, my art is very influenced by California. I mean, I was born here and spent most of my life here. Um, and I always said there's this kind of like mythical California dream, which is a house with a swimming pool and a view of the city, and a lot of that shows up in my art. But I think Southern California is the right place to have this show because it is so much based on my art. And I don't say my art is set in California necessarily. Some art you can look at it and say, oh, that building's in LA or that building's in Palm Springs, but it could be anywhere in the world in a way, and I also think that time wise too. So people might look at one of my paintings and say, oh, that's 1960 or that's 1975 or whatever, but I like to think almost all of my art is set in the past, the present, and the future at the same time. So there are elements that go back to the past, there are elements that have to do with right now, and then there are kind of futuristic elements, and this show kind of has the same thing.
Definitely. The show soundtrack is wonderful. Does it ever inspire you to paint?
Well, I listen to it while I paint, so it is inspirational in that way.
That's so exciting. I kind of hope that.
Awesome. Is there a specific part of the play that you both enjoy above everything else that the play does?
Well, I like the whole thing, but some of the standouts to me are there's a seance in the play where they actually bring the person who was murdered back to, back to tell them who did it. There's also a scene where there's an autopsy, which might sound a little creepy, but it's a sort of a comedic autopsy, if you can even imagine that. And that I think those two scenes are a couple of my favorites, just because they're kind of bizarre and unusual.
Do you have any, Cindy?
Um, I love the characters and the way they interact, and it's really fun to cast because I feel like that each character is almost playing themselves. Like there are tons of really good dancers, but can they be a kitty who has a certain personality, or a slinky, or a dodge, or an othel? And finding those, bringing out the character in the dancers and seeing it work on stage and seeing how different they all are, is certainly rewarding. But there's a scene when the Slinky, who was the one that got murdered, that gets murdered, goes to heaven, and it's a big nightclub in the sky, and it's very splashy Vegas type scene, and I love that one.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to both, and I can't wait to watch the play. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jesus. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.